Salutation, ladies and gents, my name's Red, and in this video I'll be reviewing Fault Milestone 2 Side Above. Please do note that this is a cinematic novel, meaning it is entirely story-based. I promise I will keep the spoiler to the absolute minimum, to the best of my ability. But if you're the kind of person that do not want to be spoiled by even the smallest piece of information, I highly suggest you open another tab and just listen to me as I give you my opinion on the game. With that spoiler warning out of the way, I would first like to share my quick opinion on the first game and how I feel about it. I played the first one and it was one of the most emotionally invested story I had ever had the pleasure of playing. I had never quite experienced a story that has touched me on such a personal level before. I would venture out as far as to say that it changed my life in a way. I know it sounds lame and cheesy, but that was how I honestly feel when I first finished Fault Milestone 1. And because of my love for the first game was so strong, I expect nothing but the best from Alice in Dissonance. So, did they deliver in the second installment? We will find out now. Fault Milestone 2 started directly where the first game ended. Melano confronts our group, having nowhere to run. The only option for survival is to fight. Now, the moment you enter the story right away, you can see the production value of this game has undoubtedly gone up. The quality of the art has greatly improved from the first game, as the color and the newly added details complement each other as it helped the picture stand out a whole lot more. This area is where I must give praise to the lead artist of this game. I have your name here in English, but I'm going to try to pronounce it in Japanese, regardless of how pitiful it might sound. I apologize for butchering your name, but Konatsuno Osagi? The amount of work and time you put into your drawing must be commended. It's not only vital that the artist must capture the emotion shown throughout the entire story, but it must also be eye-catching to the reader. It must draw in a way that someone can look at it and say, I can stare at this picture for hours and not be bored. And that's what happened. I had never once went through the game tired or distracted, and it was all thanks to how well the art is. Thank you, Kanatsu. Like really, your passion, dedication, and hard work have thoroughly reflected throughout the game. The newly added 3D camera system is also a welcome addition, as it allows for a more cinematic experience throughout the game. It enables the storyteller to focus in on the character's facial expression during pivotal moments or when a character just has something important to say. It also let the narration told through the camera's movement that are very useful, especially for a limited number of assets on screen. But this mechanic does have its drawback. The more the camera zoom into the characters, or anywhere for that matter, the picture will get more and more pixelated. Get too close and you will have the displeasure of seeing a jagged rune. I suggest the right compromise between storytelling and visual for an overall better quality experience. Now, every game is not without its flaws, and Fault Milestone 2 is not an exception. The good thing here is that there are not even that much flaws. Regardless, it is important to point them out. My first complaint is there seemed to be a reoccurring problem where characters would repeat the same line of dialogue that another character had already said a few seconds prior. This hiccup will happen multiple times throughout the game. Not 5, not 6, not 7, but 8 times. Luckily, all of these problems only appear in the first 2 chapters of the story, so you don't have to worry about the rest of the game being plagued with this issue. There are also some grammatical errors. I am by no means a grammar expert, but I like to help by pointing it out when I do see it happen. I was only able to find some mistake, but I'm sure someone with a higher proficiency in grammar will be able to spot out more. Not really a serious problem, but I thought it ought to be mentioned. Also, I'm not sure if this was deliberate, but there seemed to be an audio problem with one of the track called Black Spear Mix, where it would go smoothly without any problem, and then suddenly out of nowhere, it would change and sounded like something that came straight out of a Skrillex album. Again, I'm not sure whether this is intentional, that this is how it was supposed to sound. If it is, then that is one whack track. The music. Oh gosh. The music. It is fucking remarkable. Whoever composed the soundtrack for the first and second Fault Milestone, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but you, sir, are outstanding. The work that you have created is so enjoyable to listen. There is not a single track that does not fit the emotion and tone in this game. There are multiple moments throughout the story where I would just stop doing what I was doing and just sit, listening to the soothing music in the background. There are so many new tracks that were introduced in this game. One of my personal favorite is called Playground Murder. That is what is playing in the background right now. Guys, I can't praise the music enough. It is a pure sexual pleasure to the ear. That's the only accurate way to describe it. It's truly a shame that the composer who handles so many great tracks in this series had left the team and won't be returning for the sequel, unless that is he decides to return. But until then, Muni6, I hope you can find the right person for the job, because whoever it is will have some huge shoes to fill, and I hope they're up to the challenge because I expect nothing less but the best from you guys. And now, the story. You know, I find it almost entirely impossible to describe the story with just one word, due to the very fact that you just can't. The world is rich with exciting lore waiting to be cracked open and be explored, so many countries to visit and countless of adventure to have, and the diversity of stories that can be dreamt up is only limited by the writer's imagination. Regardless, what drew me in the most, what got me to be so emotionally invested in the story, is the moral dilemmas that it is presented to the readers. I can't even begin to count the myriad of time where I had to pause the story and question my moral beliefs and ethics. I was able to relate to the moral decision because it is practically prevalent in every single society today. It's what makes the story that much more special and appealing to me. I have been playing video games ever since I was 8. Since then, I was able to come across some fantastic game. My favorite game of all time is Ni no Kuni Wrath the White Witch. And for anyone that played it, you know how tear-jerking that game can be. Not even that game was able to come as close to getting me to cry as the Fault Milestone series did. When the end credit screen came scrolling down when the game ended, I felt like a piece of my heart was stolen and I was practically ready to cry. It is the equivalent of you losing a dear friend and never being able to see them again. I was that heartbroken. I know it must sound utterly ridiculous to many of you, and you might think that I'm just fabricating my emotion for the sake of drama, but I assure you, I am dead serious. To me, that is the mark of a good story, one where you constantly think and thought over about even far after you beat it. Fault Milestone 2 is a worthy successor to the Fault Milestone series. It brought innovation, new moral quandary, new characters, and a new way for you to cry your ass off. If you love the first one, there is absolutely no reason for you not to get this game. Or, if you're a newcomer to the series, I highly recommend you check out the first game before jumping into the second. You will not be sorely disappointed. Before I end this review, I would like to give an enormous thank you to Munisix and Kunatsu, the heart and soul of Alex and Dissidents. Without you guys, I would have never had the chance to experience this great story and learn the many things that came with it. On behalf of all your beautiful fans, I would like to say thank you very much. One more thing before I go. If you guys love the game and want to support the developer and their passion for making great stories, visit their Patreon page and show them some love. They're a tiny group that can't survive without its fans. If you love the work that they do and have no problem donating a few extra dollars to keep their daily supply of caffeine and ramen up to an ample amount, then do consider becoming their patron, and any support is appreciated. That's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Please leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Like this video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. I am Red, signing off. Can somebody please contact Dodger and tell her to play Fault Milestone 2? The game has been out for 2 weeks already!